When I start to think back, I think back to 10 years ago when I was placed in my room and my aunt came in and she said to me, "I have something important to tell you. Do you know what this is about?" Of course, I had no idea how serious the matter was, so I said something convoluted like training bras. And she said, "Of course, no. Mommy is gone, Ashley." And the conversation wasn't that straightforward. There was a lot of grieving involved, but that is the main overview. I fast forward 10 years into today, and I try to put myself in my aunt's perspective and how she thought the event would affect me. And then I start to think about other caregivers and how did they go about moving forward while taking the life of the child into consideration. Beginning research on this, I found that caregivers immediately search for methods of explaining the loss to the child, and there are even experiencing death for dummies tutorials intended for formulating conversation about losing a parent. I believe there's too much of a focus on explaining death and not enough development and thought on how this loss will impact the formulation of a child's identity 5 to 10 or 10 to 15 years later into their adolescence and adulthood. To emphasize the significance of the experience and its impact, I intend to examine to what extent does the death of a child's parent impact the formation of their identity. The best way to do this is to break down the question and explain death and identity formation as two different entities. Death, while considering its effect on children, can be perceived as a traumatic experience that combines memories and emotion, which may greatly, moderately, or minimally affect the way a child grows into their personality and identity.
I wanted to do so many things with my dad because when I was little, I would always think he'll live forever, and it wasn't true.
When you first find out, you don't know what to do. You don't know if you should cry. You don't know if you should think about the future. You don't know if you should remember the past.
It's pretty much someone getting like a really hard hammer and a bunch of needles and just hitting it in your heart.
Your normal friends don't really know how to react, so you just don't mention it, because if you do, they get awkward.
I have a lot of people used to be really good friends with me, and then ever since when my dad died, they've been avoiding me, and they just walk away. It's not like I have this rare disease and you go near me, you get poisoned or something like that. You're normal.
When someone dies, it's not a little feeling and then you lose it and then you'll get over it. It'll be with you forever.
Daddy will always stay in.
The video, in which examines the memories the children have of their parents, also emphasizes how important these memories are as they induce questions and curiosity that the child searches for in development. This development is known as identity formation, which is defined as the formation of the distinct personality of an individual, allowing them to find and express their uniqueness and finding their intended affiliation within society. A literature review on identity formation points out that parental and familial interactions influence status of identity development through teachings of morality and traditions that make up the basis of a person's identity. However, how does this change when a parent is deceased? Angela Nickerson, a clinical psychologist, looked into this question by observing the situation at the root, the role the family plays in this social identity development for the individual child. These factors introduce perspectives that take focus away from the experience of the death and makes caregiving methods and the way the individual deals with the loss be a greater factor in influencing their personality. The first perspective is a popular view used in general psychology. When addressing an individual's development, from physiological to social, we examine Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Then we take child X as an example. Child X may have their physiological needs met, such as water and oxygen, but due to the loss of a parent, their needs will fluctuate, leaving them emotionally stagnant and either feeling unsafe, lacking emotional support, inducing isolation, or diminishing their self-esteem, making it nearly impossible to achieve self-actualization. The second perspective regarding caregiving is the transitional events model, which can be correlated to psychologist James Marcia's argument on identity. In his theory, there are two distinct parts of an adolescent's identity: crisis and commitment. Isabel Ann Richardson, 12 years old, is an example of the identity crisis, as she hanged herself after her mother lost her battle with breast cancer. Before her death, Isabel's father reached out to her school for psychological help, but there had not been any measures taken to help and assure Isabel, leaving her in a state of fear and anxiety. In contrast, representing commitment is the support group Common Ground for children and teens who have lost their parents. In terms of this argument, one may ask, what if this event had no impact on a child's identity through repression? First, let's examine the psychological standpoint of repression. Freud developed the idea of repressed memories in accordance to sexual abuse through laboratory exploration. Let's also take into account Freud's intentions to explore repression was developed, but it has not been scientifically sustained. Currently, there is not enough empirical data to measure the existence or effectiveness of repression. The closest thing to repression is disassociation, which also promotes not only mental but physical isolation. This is also a factor of identity crisis, which not only allows the individual to recall their memory, but it will have a negative impact on their identity as well. Following that, I come back to my real-life situation. As a bereaved adolescent, I found myself being greatly impacted by my mother's death after losing her at the age of 7. The support I received from my guardians, who created a positive atmosphere for me, informed me that the grieving process was not only normal, but it was basically infinite. I was given time to accept the loss, and as a result, my emotional needs were met, and I enforced the commitment of my identity by giving admiration to my mother. The solution I would give to the issue expressed in the beginning of this presentation will be for all of us to take on the role as caregivers, friends, and family members, and become infinite support for the people around us who need us the most. Imagine your best friend was becoming distant and had a loss of a mother, a father, a brother, or a sister. Because it is seen that their traumatic experience has forced initial stress into their life, a simple "can we talk" counts, because with every second wasted, there is either a moment of acceptance or a moment of doubt, making their identity thrive or destruct.
Hi, I'm Lynn Snyder, founder and director of Common Ground Grief Center. The center provides ongoing peer support groups for children and teens who have experienced the death of a parent, sibling, or friend. You are about to see and hear from some of the teens who come to our center. They will share with you some of their experiences about what it's like to be a grieving teen and how you can help them. By no means is this film meant to be comprehensive or oversimplify the grieving process. One of the many things that I have learned in working with the kids and teens who come to our center is that they are the real experts on their grief. Thank you for watching.
Some of us have been here for years, and some of us just started. We all have our own unique experiences, and Common Ground is where we come to share them.
My name is Mike, I'm 13, and my dad died of a lung disease.
I'm Claire, I'm 16.
I'm Carolyn, I'm 14.
And our dad died of a brain aneurysm.
I'm Josh, I'm 15. My sister died in March 20th, 2010 when she was 14.
I'm Mike, I'm 16.
I'm Zach, I'm 14. Our dad died by suicide on November 27th, 2010.
My name is Olivia, I'm 14, and my mom died on October 2007 of a heart failure.
I'm Rebecca, I'm 15 years old, and my mom died of breast cancer and leukemia. She died on April 13th, 2005. I was 8 and she was 45.
I'm Mary, I'm 15. My dad died from head and neck cancer April 18th, 2010.
I'm Jess, I'm 16 years old. My stepdad died of cancer in 2009. He was 39 and I was 13.